been 3 years since the first teaser of the map Fallujah, and we finally have it in game. During its time in development, it has had a couple setbacks and has been completely reworked. Fallujah is the most detailed and dense map that Offworld has released to Squad. The map is 4 km squared in size, and the scaling is half of that of the real world location. For the most part, it is very accurate to the real Fallujah, but you can notice creative freedom, and we'll touch on that in a second. Offworld has done their homework. There's police stations that have been referenced that have seen combat against both the Iraqi insurgency and ISIS. The northern train station. Fallujah was quite well known for its marketplaces as well. And the Al Khalifa Mosque, known as the Blue Mosque within the game, which made headlines during the Battle of Fallujah and most recently against ISIS as its destruction was noted. Now here's where things get interesting. Not native to Fallujah, but Baghdad, is the Republican Palace. Now this one was cool to come across, the Osama bin Laden raid compound. Again, not native to Fallujah, but located within Pakistan. The attention to detail is pretty solid and represents the real life location pretty well. They even took the time to add some furnishings inside. Moving on from the Easter eggs, an underground element has been added to the map in the form of a sewer system. It is quite handy and opens up flanking routes. I have mapped it out quite crudely, a link will be in the description. This is awesome to see, and I wish other maps had more things like this. With a city like this comes a lot of verticality. With that comes parkour. With the amount of buildings and the differing elevations, it opens up a lot of opportunities to make some insane jumps. The mappers have also detailed areas to help us along our way with our parkour efforts. With the map, we can expect varying lighting conditions, as well as a sandstorm. Without dragging this Fallujah section on for too much longer, I just want to give my thoughts. The map is absolutely astonishing, but there are some downsides to the map. The fog, it really takes away from the experience, but I understand it's for optimization reasons, due to the density and object count of the map. As the map undergoes more optimization, I hope to see fog reduced. The other issue is performance. It's not quite there yet, but again, we'll have to wait for optimizations, just to see how things pan out. The Middle Eastern Alliance faction has been added to Squad, bringing the total current playable faction count to 7. The MEA have quite a vast selection of vehicles at their disposal, but we're going to focus on the ones unique to them. 4 variants of the Samir Jeep have been added. All relevant information will be displayed on screen. The MEA have 2 tanks in their vehicle pool, but the T72S is the one unique to it. They get their very own shit box, but this one is far more lethal. 2 BDRM types are available, but the S8 variant is unique to them. With the MEA comes multiple weapons and new optics. While we have had the G3 rifles within Squad for quite some time, with the MEA it adds new flavour and variety. With the G3 being the main weapon of the MEA, and with these new optics, it puts them in a very powerful spot within the game. Since they are battle rifles, they have quite noticeable recoil, and they have quite a high damage output. This is quite a throwback, and very reminiscent of the MEC faction from the Battlefield series and Project Reality. The automatic rifleman rolls have their own G3, but with a drum mag, bipod, and an optic depending on what one you select. The HK-79 is the GL being utilised by the MEA, and it comes with some sick animation work. For the marksman kit, we have a sharpshooter variant of the G3, the G3 SG1, which comes with a 6x optic. It's also surprisingly controllable. The machine gun roll gets the MG3. Now this weapon is extremely useful within close quarters and long distances. As you would expect from this high rate of fire weapon, the recoil is quite hefty when unsupported, but when you go on the prone and pop out the bipod, this weapon becomes a laser. I won't do too much talking here, all relevant info will be on the center of the screen. If you'd like to skip this part, there are timestamps in the description below, as well as within the timeline of the video itself. Squad has needed another conventional Op4 faction for quite a long time, and the MEA fill that role perfectly. There's been a lot of talk lately about how OP this faction is. I don't think they're OP per se, just need a little bit of tweaking. This is what happens when every role has a high damage weapon, and with the availability of optics and the wide variety in the vehicle pool, it just adds to the overall strength. All that's needed is a little bit of tweaking, and the MEA will be in a nice spot. The Kickstarter and veteran skins are now working again and are accessible within the Steam inventory within your settings menu. The Veterans Law, also known as the Justice for Harambe Law, for the US faction. The Veteran RPG 7 for both the militia and insurgent factions. For the Russian faction, we have the Veteran RPG 7 V2. For those who back Squad during the Kickstarter, from Squad Lead tier and above, have access to the Desert Khaki paint for all the M4s within the US faction. The AK-74 tribal pattern for both the militia and insurgent faction, another Kickstarter skin. Kickstarter patches are working again with both the founders and tier patch. Clan patches are coming soon to those who backed at the company clan tier level. They will be located above where the founders patch is. The British faction ACOG has had its zoom increased to 4 times, which makes it identical to the US faction's ACOG zoom. The Russian 1P78 optic has had a slight increase of 8% to its zoom, bringing it a little bit closer to the Western counterparts. While I appreciate the increase in zoom, I feel the reticle is too small now, and it feels like the optic has been pushed forward a little too much. The camera view for the main gun of the Abrams has been corrected. It used to be the auxiliary sight, but now is the primary sight. With this change, the tank barrel will no longer obstruct the view. Another change to the Abrams, with the main gun, the reticle is now different compared to previous versions at the highest zoom setting for each ammunition type. An icon has been added for when the handbrake is activated. This should help out in instances when the handbrake bugs out sometimes and you don't know when it's on. The hab mesh has been updated, with it now has building planks when placed. This should help identify where it is a lot easier. The final part of the fob bleedout system has been added, where the health bar in the top left changes colour now, blue meaning it's spawnable, yellow meaning it's taken too much damage and unspawnable, and red meaning it is in a bleedout state. Currently the effects aren't showing in local, so I had to head over to a live server to capture the footage. Experimental graphic settings have been added, and to access them, you have to go into your properties of Squad in Steam, go to beta, and select the correct branch. You can still play the game and access servers even though it's a differing branch. All this does is allow you to use these new settings. Shadows have been completely reworked, and there are a lot of new shadow options within the new experimental menu. These settings and the shadows are still work in progress, and there are some bugs and performance issues tied to them. Over the past 5 years, I've played in multiple 100-player playtests, and it's amazing to see the progress that Offworld have made, to the point where it's now on the full release. It still has some work to be done, but it is playable, and it is in Squad right now. To shave some time off, I'm not going to cover anything else, but the patch notes will be linked in the description below. To end this video, I'm going to go over my thoughts. I'm happy to see OWI reach full release and reach the milestone for Squad. It's been 5-6 long years, and it's finally made it. But in saying that, I feel like the release could have been delayed a little bit longer due to the performance issues and some of the bugs. It would have been nice to also have the dead changes, maybe a new flight model implemented before full release hit. So when these new guys come in and drastic changes just start happening post full release, it's going to confuse some people. But either way, Squad has reached full release, and it is in a playable state, so congratulations OWI. And this is pretty much it. I'll catch you guys in the next one.